Hello, and welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking again with Jason Spera. He's the CEO and a co-founder of Aegis Software. Aegis is known throughout the industry, but I thought in welcoming Jason, I'd also give him a chance to kind of give us an overview of the company, the long history in the company too, Jason, right? Having started as a CAD CAM side, and you've come quite a ways since then. So listen, welcome. Thank you for the time. Please jump in, introduce yourself, and give us an overview of Aegis.
Well, thanks for having me, Eric. I appreciate it. And yeah, to go back to our founding is a 27-year journey now. And you're right, we actually started, and you probably remember a bit back then, is we were CAD CAM, where the original mission of the company was to transform the CAD and the bill of materials into everything manufacturing engineers needed for the shop floor. So the color-coded visual aid automation, and that then generated in paper, the programs for the pick-and-place machines and auto inserters and so forth. That was our original vision, was to expedite what manufacturing engineers would typically do very manually, because I was one in an electronics plant before being a founder of the company. And we moved, because the market took us there, from that data processing of the CAD and the BOM to MES in 2000, where we would start tracking the movement of the product, project those visual aids you were doing onto the floor via terminals, and quality collection. And then since then, there's been, the rest of the journey has been building that out. But the core vision and architecture, of the kind of the structural idea, where you have to start with the design data, and that's a necessary prerequisite in our view to a proper MES system, which is interesting today because that's what many call the digital thread. And for many, it's sort of a new concept, but for us, it was always fundamental to the solution that the design of the product had to be the core of the MES platform. So it's been and since then, of course, we've expanded the functionality of the system to cover all of manufacturing operations.
Oh yeah, and the MES system I've heard described as kind of the backbone for electronics manufacturing, right? For anything done, that truly is so fundamental to everything. Kind of seems to be built off of that, right, so to speak.
It is, and it speaks to analytics as well, which is a big thing today, of course, and we'll probably be talking a little bit about that. Is when you have all of the data you're gathering from the factory, if it's related to the design, your analytics become a lot more powerful, because the data points coming in from the process aren't as meaningful if they're not related to the product that's being built, right? It sounds a little self-evident when you say it that way, but frankly, most solutions don't do that. The data is just data points unrelated to the design.
Yeah. So let's get into kind of what you're doing, and we'll move forward into being able to see you at Apex here in just about 3 weeks or so, a couple of weeks from now. You've added a lot of capability specifically to your lean material management solution. Tell us about that piece, please.
We have. It's basically the second generation of the solution we've had for some time for shop floor material control, augmenting warehouse material management. The material management solution is designed to do as little or as much as the customer wants with regard to materials in the operation, because some customers are quite happy with what their ERP is doing, some might not be. But what we've added, and it's actually driven by our customers, is it's one of those capabilities that might not be terribly exciting on its face to a lot of folks, but to the business, to the manufacturing company itself, it's actually incredibly important. And it has to do with making certain your material quantities and counts are accurate at all times, as much as possible, and that your reaction to deviations on those counts is done as efficiently as possible. So we've added a very powerful, we call it cycle counting capability in the system. So those tedious, laborious acts of what form of counting do we do? Do we do it on everything? Do we do it only for the high runners? Do we do it only when something dispatches to the floor, only when something comes back? And I won't burden you with all the different modes, but there's a lot of different selections people could, and there's like within most manufacturing enterprises, we found people have very strong opinions about the best way to do that. So the system was highly configurable by the customer to execute the counting via staff in whatever way they want. But then the next phase is that it actually gives managers the ability to set up how they want it done and then administrate who's running around with the mobile devices actually performing the counting, or if there's a machine doing it at certain points and so forth. And the next step is once problems are found, and this is where it gets, I think, quite interesting because most systems, I don't believe, handle this, is if you find a problem, you can then drive it into a non-conformance control, which our system fundamentally has, which takes it through a whole business process of, okay, why did this happen? Going through actual sign-offs among groups of people in the company that say, okay, this is what happened. This is what we think we should do so it never happens again. Executing that change in the business. And then the final closed loop is, did we get better after we executed that change? So the continuous improvement cycle around that. So you're actually you're digitizing continuous improvement of your material quantity accuracy. And again, it's, material quantities on their face probably aren't the most exciting thing to talk about, but to a business, it's incredibly important.
No, absolutely. It's the materials are the oil of the industry there, so to speak, right? Nothing happened. And it's interesting as I hear you speak, it just reminds me just how complex and what great variation there is in any manufacturing environment, right? It's not like most are not running 24/7, right? Running the same thing. There's a lot of changeover, there's a lot of variation, there are a lot of different builds happening in that environment, and those all have to be accounted for. And no errors are allowed, of course, and it's challenging. So,
yeah. And if you're an EMS provider, well, any manufacturer in electronics, there's a tremendous amount of value tied up in those materials, and mistakes in material counts, and God forbid running out of materials because you literally didn't know you were low. Those are serious issues at a business level, and they get back to the tedious issue of how do you handle the counting. And we think we've really come out with something compelling to make that process a lot easier.
Oh, it sounds like you're doing something that helps the EMS really manage the complexity that their OEM customers expect them to, right? So,
yep.
And execute accordingly. The other issue I wanted to ask you about is your SaaS release, your upcoming software as a service. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we're quite excited about that. It's actually going to release almost coinciding with Apex. So it's pretty exciting for our customer base and as well as prospective customers in that our system, basically we have factory logics on premise as we've had for many, many years. We now have a mirror version of that that is cloud native. And when I say that, this is not just factory logics was taken and put in a virtual instance up in the cloud, and we're calling it a cloud-based system. It's actually a fully containerized, highly service-oriented architecture that is incredibly scalable. It runs, without getting into the IT gory stuff, but it runs in Kubernetes clusters, so it can scale extremely efficiently for customers. And the beauty of it is all of that's very helpful for the IT folks that might be interested in its performance and its reliability and things of that nature, which are critical. But it is on the cutting edge of how you should properly construct a cloud native system. But for most customers, what's compelling about it is the simplicity. The deployment simplicity, the fact that there's no server room involved anymore for the customers. They simply, they click a link. It's very much like the experience you have with Office 365. You click a link, everything installs for you, and you're off and running, and you don't have to worry about maintaining a server room or the hardware involved or anything of that nature. So our customers are very excited about it. Those that have like legacy systems from prior generations before factory logics, moving forward to the new platform is really quite easy for them, and we're pretty excited about it.
Okay, and you said that may be released and discussed or featured at Apex for you.
Yes, and pretty much immediately after Apex, it would be available to the market.
Okay, excellent.
And one other thing I should have noted, forgive me, is we do have an awful lot of defense and aerospace customers, other customers in industries that might be, they still have the security concerns or even reliability concerns sometimes with cloud systems. That's becoming less and less over time, as security capabilities with these systems get better. But for those that just aren't ready to move, we are still going to have the on-premise factory logics version available to them, and then we'll have the SaaS version as well. So we didn't want to force our customer base into any decisions they might not want to make by coming out basically forcing migration to SaaS. That's not what we're doing.
Right. Well, yeah, in this industry, one solution fits all doesn't apply, right? So,
Not typically, no.
not typically, no. Listen, the other thing I wanted to ask you about too, in the time that we have, is I noticed the announcement in December of the partnership that you've established with Arch Systems.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and the benefit that that brings to customers.
Yeah, that's really exciting for us as well. So, as you know, we are a manufacturing operations system, and we've been one of the leaders in IoT connections, getting data off the machines. And then we have Arch, that I know as well, is also a leader in getting data off the machine. So you might ask, and some do, well, who's doing what and why? Well, it actually speaks to what we're doing. So both of us can get data off machines. But Arch has the ability to take data and generate insights from it and then suggest reactions to it. Because there's a big difference between masses of data and actually telling the customer, maybe you should look at this. This is probably the root cause, things of that nature, which is beyond the AI that's being done there by Arch is not quite what Aegis does. We're more analytics in terms of presenting the data. However, if you look at the other side of the coin, Arch's capabilities are dependent upon the richness and the depth of the data they have access to. And what a lot of people don't often realize, who don't live the world of IoT and everything the way we do, is that the machines, there's a lot of things the machines actually don't know and therefore can't expose to another system. So very often, very few machines actually know the assembly number they're building. Very, very few know the process revision going on or the work order. They're often not aware of the route around them. They're very insular about what's going on in them. In some cases, if it's a panelized assembly, they don't actually know the discrete, it depends on the machine, but they may not actually know the discrete number of units. And I could go on. There's a lot of peripheral data, like human operators. They generate data, but you can't put an IoT connection on them. There's a lot of things like that, the materials movement in the factory. All of those data points are incredibly useful to an engine like Arch to draw greater conclusions about root cause, what to do next, and what your real quality situation is. So like taking a very basic example, if you're running the same assembly number at a revision from the design department for an entire month, but the factory changes the way you built it, meaning maybe you used a different machine, shut one machine down in a line and didn't use it anymore. Same product, but you changed how you built it. The Factory Logics platform knows that. We call that a process revision. Product didn't change, but how you build it did. Mm-hmm. Arch now has access to that and the work order and the materials data, the supplier information. Can you imagine what can be done quality analysis wise once you start seeing that? And then you bounce it off the CAD design, which we are also providing to them. Mm-hmm. So now the geometric relationships of quality related to those kinds of changes throughout the whole context of production. In many cases, it's my personal belief that there's probably not possibly any manufacturers looking at quality that way because they don't have the analysis engine to do it, and they don't have the data upon which to do it in the first place. So then the next phase, it closes the loop. So we provide a little bit of data augmentation. Their AI acts upon it, recommends things, but they can recommend things and tell operators to do things, but they can't physically make sure it happens in production, right? Because they're not MES. Aegis can physically lock lines. So you can imagine it is capable of saying if something is about to go really badly, their predictive analysis they do, it could actually, we can physically stop a conveyor. We can do all manner of things in the process. So now the vision and the way we're putting it is that you're taking the continuous improvement loop that very good engineers do in a world-class company right now, and you're adding to that basically a digital version of it running in tandem with them. So it's a force multiplier on the continuous improvement you're already doing. But the more continuous improvement a company does and faster and better that they do it is really what differentiates one company from another in terms of whether they're like at world-class level. And we think this is a digital way of really bringing that business value to the market.
Now, I'm assuming in the example that you just cited there, Jason, that if the line gets locked for whatever reason, right, you do the system is then generating something because, everybody on the line is going to freak out, right? What's going on? Who did this, right? So it's generating then something in real time, advising them what happened and what needs to be corrected, I'm assuming.
You just identified a very important thing in our line control devices. They have to tell the operator why it stopped. Otherwise, there will be panic, and rightly so. So yes, the dashboards and the physical line control devices and so forth expose why it happened. But it can go even further to, if it's a really serious matter, it can quarantine parts, send them out of the route automatically into a holding pen. All the things that would require a lot of human overhead and everything being executed properly by personnel can be digitally handled.
Okay. That's exciting. Now, and I did catch in the press release the term AI co-pilot was used. Is that from the Arch system side? Or is that a collaborative piece in that?
It's both, really, because the co-pilot concept is, I was hoping, hopefully I conveyed it to some degree, is, the human engineers are always going to be involved. Their skill and ability to look at the data and infer what should be done, that has to be in the factory. But this AI co-pilot that's running a continuous improvement process of looking at the data and coming up with insights running in parallel with them. That's why we use that term, is that this is not replacing anyone, it's augmenting what's being done and speeding it up.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes, and you did mention that. I had it highlighted here and wanted to make sure that we tease that out. So will this also be at Apex? Let's talk about Apex. We're a couple weeks out here. Will this examples of this? So tell me what you're planning for Apex with all that's happening there at Aegis.
Yeah, we have a lot going on, but both Arch and Aegis obviously are exhibiting, and we'll be having elements of the solution, and all of our discussions will be in both booths. So anybody could visit either one and learn about what we're doing.
Okay. And what about the overall theme then for you guys as you're moving forward to Apex? I mean, we got the SaaS thing that'll be announced and releasing from there. So it'll be a busy booth. It'll be a lot of conversations, and it sounds like you will be up to here. So
we hope so.
Yeah.
We also, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because of the SaaS launch with the fact that it's very appealing to our legacy platform customers, we actually think we're going to have a lot of our longtime customers at the booth as well, which will be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I attended a smaller regional show here in the Dallas area this week, and the general sentiment was first quarter's been a bit slow, but everybody was very optimistic for the rest of the year, thinking things are starting to ramp now. So it sounds like, and it's funny, somebody even said, yeah, I think that's because Apex was delayed this year, right? Which I found interesting. They said, usually we do that a lot earlier and things get going. So, we're all hoping for an exciting time there at the new location, or the old location, I guess, right? We're back in Anaheim this year, which will be interesting too. But where can people find you there? You guys got obviously your booth, you're demonstrating. Are you also giving any presentations there, or?
You'll have to forgive me. I actually forgot our booth number.
Okay, look it up. I should have it too. So I did see you on the map, and it looked like a good location, so I know that. So, yeah. So Apex is happening. That's the 3 days. The 9th through the 11th are really the show days, as I recall. And obviously with Apex, there's a lot of activities around that, and a lot of trainings and seminars and what have you that go on there.
And we support the CFX and other other committees as well, and I'm on some and so forth. So yes, there's a lot. Apex is great from many perspectives.
Yeah, I've heard you're pretty involved in all that, so you're
Yeah.
gonna have you'll be busy there. Listen, the one thing I do want to touch upon before I let you go is this will be, we all look forward to Apex, but we also you'll be missing a key team member there this year. Somebody we always looked forward to seeing. Michael Ford was a friend and colleague and a contributor to this industry in so many ways. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to say any words you wish to about Michael.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. It's something that has been weighing on our company's heart a lot. Michael was very close to all of us. We all considered him a friend. It's been a very shocking and difficult loss, and it's interesting because this might sound I find it funny is there's always the vying in the company of certain people who really want to go to Apex. It's kind of funny, almost like children. Like they're trying to get on the roster to go to Apex. And so Apex for us is kind of an exciting yearly ritual as a company, at least in the Americas operations. And Michael won't be with us, so it kind of takes it's a bit of a less than positive edge on, but he will be missed, and it's certainly not just by Aegis. I mean, his work for the industry, CFX, and all the countless standards he supported and so forth, and his contribution to thought leadership and ideas in this industry to have lost that is really, really unfortunate for everyone.
No, absolutely. I've had the benefit of knowing and interviewing him over the years, and always struck by both, his intellect, but also his great humanity, right? And he was special, and he will be missed. So thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that gave you a chance to comment on that. Well, Jason, thank you for this today. I think you look forward to seeing you out at Apex. It should be exciting. It'll be exciting to see everything that we've been discussing today kind of starting to take shape and roll out there. So I wish you success, and I look forward to seeing you in Anaheim in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.